This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Last time I saw Aaron Torres, he was dropping me off at Union Station in downtown Los Angeles. We had just finished having lunch after getting a tour at the Rose Bowl after we did some radio there together. Boy, that was a lot of fun. And AT, it was just great to finally be there with you face to face. And now we're back to the way things have been for all these years. How are things going?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned it, Phil, because thanks to the meltdown of Southwest Airlines, I was supposed to travel this weekend, but now I'm staying home. I don't have any radio because I was expecting to travel, so I might actually go to the Rose Bowl this year. We were talking about, I was telling our lovely host and the people we were with, I said I've been in California for about 10 years. I've only been able to go to one because of work responsibilities, but being here on now, of course, it'll be on the second, the game this year. I'm thinking I might actually go to the Rose Bowl this year. Penn State, Utah, baby, let's go.
Pretty good game, yeah, and you could maybe even give the tour yourself. Yeah, you know enough history of the Rose Bowl now to actually maybe give a little history lesson to someone who doesn't realize that you don't work there.
Well, I appreciate you getting me a tour because I learned quite a bit. And we had a lot of fun, man. And I'll say this. I hope, we talked about this when I was on air last time. And, Matt, I'm sorry. I feel like, I really just ruined the flow of the conversation. I just came in and hijacked the whole segment. But, no, I think hopefully now, you have a better feel because I think, the Rose Bowl's gotten a really bad rap over the last probably decade or so in its role in, why is the playoff expanding? Why is it not expanding? Why does everything revolve around the Rose Bowl? But for this local area and the local economy and everything, it is a huge deal, even though it's a quote-unquote meaningless bowl game most years. It does matter to a lot of people, and I can say this, being around town, Utah fans are starting to roll in. Penn State fans are definitely starting to roll in. Me and some Penn State people for lunch, as a matter of fact. And this is a big deal to this community. And I'm excited. I'm excited to get down there, and I'm excited to see the game itself. And so, again, I appreciate you getting me into the stadium and getting me the tour. And I'm excited to actually get to the game on Monday.
AT, it's always a joy having you on the show. Speaking of some of these games, what about that Fiesta Bowl and the Peach Bowl? Who do you have winning those two games?
Well, I'll say this, guys. I've heard a lot this week of, Ohio State, they got a new lease on life, and there's a real extra pep in their step. And I keep sitting there saying, why wasn't that there before the Michigan game? I mean, last year you get destroyed by Michigan. You miss out on a chance to compete for a Big Ten title and a national title. And so I just don't buy this narrative that somehow Ohio State has this new sense of purpose, coming into the college football playoff, because to be honest, they should have had that all season after the way last season ended. So I do like Georgia in that game. And then, guys, I'm actually really torn on the Michigan-TCU game. I do like Michigan, but I keep going back to one thought, guys, which is this, is that, about a decade ago, the term SEC speed became a thing about a decade ago, and it was because we had two or three matchups there where, we had a situation where you had kind of the big, tough, physical Big Ten, and everybody said, how is Florida going to match up with Ohio State? How is LSU going to match up with Ohio State? And then all of a sudden you saw pretty quickly, the speed and playmaking ability of those SEC teams caused problems for the Big Ten. And so I do kind of wonder, could we see something like that for TCU Michigan? I'm not saying it does happen, but I am curious. TCU is an explosive big play offense, top 5 nationally in terms of explosive plays. And I do wonder if, we're just kind of penciling Michigan into a title game against either Georgia or in a rematch of Ohio State, and maybe we should be a little cautious doing that.
Man, when it comes to that Michigan game against Ohio State, all I need to know is Michigan ran for 252 yards against Ohio State. Georgia has run for 37 touchdowns and averages 5.5 yards per carry. And I don't really think Ohio State's got much of a chance to slow them down, as Michigan just wore them down by the end of that game. I know it's been a month since then, but I expect the same kind of thing to happen.
I totally agree with you, and I'm just finishing up, my write-up for the games and my picks and everything. But, I'll be honest, right? Like, I think sometimes in life, I think some narratives are unfair. I do think, and we might have talked about this after the Michigan game, guys, I think it's fair to some degree to question Ryan Day. And there's a difference between questioning, is a guy, quote-unquote, on the hot seat, and is he in an elite job, one of the 2-3 best jobs in the country, one of the 2-3 jobs that historically has always been great. Is he a great coach, or did he just inherit a great situation? And, I think the people that defend Ryan Day will say, well, he's 45-5. And what I would say to that is, the Ohio State coach isn't paid to beat Indiana and Rutgers and Minnesota and Purdue. He's paid to beat Michigan, win Big Ten titles, and play for national championships. And obviously, that last one is still very much in play. But to your point, Phil, they didn't look good against Michigan this year. They didn't look good against Michigan last year. I'd take it a step further and say, the Penn State game, they were losing going into the fourth quarter, and it was actually their defense which kind of carried them, made some big plays and forced turnovers and things like that. So, I think it's fair to not say that Ryan Day is a terrible coach and not say that he's on the hot seat. There can be some context here, but also say that he has kind of something to prove, because if you do kind of go back and look at his time as the head coach at that school, what you can see is a program that has really sort of taken steps in the wrong direction the further they've gotten away from Urban Meyer. So I would kind of wrap even by saying this about those two games is I think you can argue in a lot of ways. It's weird to say that I think the 4 seed has by far the most pressure in this college football playoff semifinal round, but I think that's absolutely the case. And I think it'll be interesting to see how Ohio State handles it, because like I said, there is a sense that they have a renewed sense of optimism, but now it's time to show it and show it on Saturday.
SEC basketball play started off Wednesday, and it wasn't. It was a tough one for the Hogs at LSU. Mm-hmm. They zoned them 4 for 25 from behind the arc. Couldn't get to the foul line consistently. They tried. I mean, it was almost like a football game on a basketball floor. I didn't get a chance to watch it live because we were in the midst of a crazy Liberty Bowl. But, down Trevin Brazil, down Nick Smith, and we still don't know when or if Smith does return. You do wonder about, the teams are going to zone them. They're going to have to either hit shots or find a way to get the ball into the paint.
I think so, and it was funny because, there was a couple questionable calls at the end there, but, I think this speaks to what the three of us talked about last week when, we weren't, I think when I was on with you guys, when I was with you, Phil, in California, I don't think the Nick Smith news was official yet, but why I bring it up was, there was kind of some rumblings and he was just coming back, and I still do go back to, the talent is there. And what I liked about the game, Phil, I was able to kind of watch it in person. I wasn't at a bowl game or anything, and so I was able to watch it in person. I did watch the end of that crazy Liberty Bowl, too. I can't sit here and say I watched play for play because I kind of turned it off when Arkansas was up by 20-whatever points in the second half. But, the talent is there. I think there was some positives from the perspective that I thought it was the best game that I've seen Jordan Walsh play as a Razorback. I think it was 13 points, 9 rebounds, and he was kind of almost that zone buster, Phil, where he kind of got into those little gaps and spaces and offensive rebounded really well and all that stuff. But I thought he played well. And I think Mekhi Mitchell is really coming along. I think it's Mekhi Mitchell. I always get them confused. I apologize I think he's really coming along and we talked about this after the Trevin Brazil injury of, an injury is an awful thing, and you never want to see it happen, but it also creates an opportunity for somebody else, and that's a kid now that I think that I've seen is really taking advantage of that opportunity. I don't know that it shows up necessarily on the box score, but I think it's been better for him. So I think there are positives to take away. LSU is probably going to end up being a tournament team, and you were really a possession away from beating them. But yeah, Phil, I think to reach your ultimate goals as a team and a program, you are going to have to hit threes, because I think that's going to be the blueprint on Arkansas going forward.
Yeah, they're going to have to find a way to beat zone, no question. And it doesn't get any easier. You get a home game at Missouri, then you're on the road against a Bruce Pearl Auburn team, and then number 8 Alabama, and then back on the road again. It's hard to win in this league on the road, and I think you saw that with a young team. No time to panic though. And I was going to get your thoughts on this. So they played those 3 guards all 40 minutes, and I get it, and that's what Muss likes to do. Sometimes, though, it's good to come out, maybe get a 2-minute break, get a 90-second break to kind of catch a breather and just see what's going on. I don't know if that's sustainable to play those guys 40 minutes a night.
Yeah, I think, and this is a question, Matt, even dating back to before you started on this show, was this was something that we talked about a ton in the offseason of, Coach Muss historically is kind of stuck with that 6-7-man group, and with 13 scholarship players that are all really good, how does that figure itself out? The only thing I would say, Matt, I agree with your sentiment that you just can't play guys 40 minutes, they're going to wear down. The one thing I would say, though, the one thing I give Muss a ton of credit for, is that he's always tinkering. And I think tinkering in some cases can be a bad thing. Like, I think Kentucky right now is tinkering too much. I think they have no idea what they want to do and who they want to be. But Coach Muss, he tinkers in, I think, a productive and a proactive way in really trying to figure out, okay, who are the guys that I can trust? And I remember this time last year, Trey Wade wasn't really a huge factor in what Arkansas was doing. And by the end of the year, he was a huge part of their success. So I agree. I don't think that it's sustainable to play Black and counsel all these guys as many minutes maybe as they have. But the counter is that I trust this coaching staff. They have not only a 4-year track record at Arkansas, but really a 6-7 year track record since they've gotten to college of being able to figure things out and have the team in the best position when the games matter the most in February and March.
Right on. And just to just a little bit. So the thing that to you, what you're saying is I agree with you. I do think Muss knows his identity, but it's almost like they were in shock or something happened because we're not supposed to shoot 10 free throws and 25 three-pointers. It's supposed to be the other way around. That's our identity, and I think we would have won the game if we're shooting 25 free throws and 10 three-pointers, so kind of got to get back. But that's it. When teams are going to play a zone, we're going to have to be able to knock down some three-point shots.
Agree, and I think, this is one of the great things about college basketball is you have this time to learn where everything is still ahead of you. You don't want to lose games early in the year, but there are times to figure things out. And I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, I think even, dating back to the preseason, we were talking about, is there enough shooting on this team? And so I think, the thing that I've learned since conference play really ramped up the last few days, Matt, is 2 things. Is one, and it's not really stuff that I've learned, but it's stuff you kind of forget as time goes on and you're reminded of it, is one, exactly what you said, winning on the road is really, really, really hard. But then 2, teams know you so much better. I'll give you a quick example, guys. My alma mater, UConn, was destroying everybody in the out-of-conference. They took care of business in the first conference game on the road. They played the worst team in the Big East, Georgetown, and Georgetown was up about 6 with like 8-9 minutes to go because they just know that team. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. They know their routines. And I think even though Matt McMahon is new to the SEC at LSU, I don't think LSU is new to Coach Muss in Arkansas. So that's kind of the thing that we always have to be reminded of in SEC play. These programs, they know each other so well. And it's on the coaching staff to make adjustments and all that, and that's kind of what Muss does maybe better than anybody, maybe even in the SEC, is make those adjustments and adjust. So I'm excited to see, but I think to your point, Matt, I think the SEC is probably a little bit deeper than people thought. I think some of the teams at the top might not be as good, but the LSUs, Mississippi States, Missouris, et cetera, are probably better than people expected as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good league.
Well, tell me about one of those teams that's supposed to be at the top that doesn't look like they're at the top right now. You do a search on Twitter for Fire Calipari. There are some things that come up over the last, 12 hours or so. And we have a text in here from a listener, Pete in Cave City, wants to know if you think Arkansas is better than Kentucky. Like, Hogs fans want a lot out of their basketball program. They'd love to get back to the Elite Eight. They'd love to go to the Final Four for the first time in, 26 or 27 years. But they'd also like to beat Kentucky 2 times. I think they would view this as a successful season if that happens.
Well, then let's start printing up the success T-shirts, Phil, because I think they're in pretty good shape. But Kentucky is going to get better. Calipari's stubborn, man. Like, and it's tough, and nobody feels sorry for him. But I think there were some factors. Oscar Tshiebwe was out for most of the preseason and early season. I think that stunted them a little bit. So there are factors, but a lot of it is just the stuff that has been going on in Kentucky for the last 2, 3, 4 years. Is kind of, this is a program that's been trending. You don't want to say in the wrong direction. Like, it's really tough. You don't want to say they're trending in the wrong direction. They were a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament last year, but they also did lose to St. Peter's. They won the SEC in 2020, the year that was canceled because of COVID. So you can't sit here and say that the program is totally just falling off the rails. But the stats speak for themselves, Phil. In big games, they have not been good. They have not delivered against ranked teams really over the last 2-3 years. They've had their moments, no doubt. But this year, I put up the stat after the Missouri game. They've played, if you include Gonzaga as a power conference team, they've played 5 power conference teams. They're 1-4, and their average margin of defeat is 12 points in those games. I mean, that's the reality of Kentucky. I've called them the Dallas Cowboys. I've said they win a lot of games. They don't win enough of the games that matter over the last probably 2-3 years. And so there's plenty of time to turn around. I'll say this. They play that same LSU team on next Wednesday at home. If they don't win that game, if you can't beat LSU at home, I think you're going to have real problems in the bigger picture. They, like Arkansas, have a tough early part of the conference schedule at Tennessee, at Alabama by the middle of January. And if they can't beat LSU, I don't see any reason to think it's going to get any better.
AT, we'll leave it there. Hope you have a good new year. Enjoy the Rose Bowl, and let me know if you're able to take anybody on a tour and what you teach them. Okay.
I was going to say real quick, who do you got in the Rose Bowl? Who do you got in the Rose Bowl? Penn State or Utah?
Probably Utah.
Probably okay.
Utah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm not a big Penn State. I don't trust their quarterback, Sean Clifford, so we'll see.
Make sure you tell your Penn State fans that at lunch today. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Okay. Happy New Year. Thank you, guys.
You got it. Aaron Torres joining us on halftime here. Get over to Joe's Grill and Cantina today for their Friday specials. Chicken fajitas are just $10. Steak fajitas are $11. You get your sides of beans and rice with it. A flavored margarita is only $4 today. That's all day long at Joe's Grill and Cantina in Fort Smith. They're at 3400 South 74th across from Harps, open Tuesday through Saturday. joesfortsmith.com. You can also order through the Waiter app. Lines are open at 877-377-6963. It's halftime.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. BetOnline, where the game starts.